I'm Amanda Nichols, Communications Director here at Our Revolution, and I am glad to welcome all of you to our live Organize to Win call tonight. This is our GOTV kickoff in California, where we're backing Barbara Lee for U.S. Senate and rolling out exciting progressive slates in Sacramento, San Francisco, Alameda, and Contra Costa counties, total of 95 candidates and counting. So start telling us your name and where you're from in the chat. As of today, early voting is officially underway in California. Mail-in ballots are starting to hit mailboxes, and in just a few minutes, we'll be hearing from Our Revolution's Senate candidate, Barbara Lee, and Lateefah Simon, who is running to succeed Barbara in the congressional seat in District 12, as well as Fatima Iqbal Zubair. She's the Progressive Caucus Chair of the California Democratic Party. We're going to have Ro Khanna, who co-chaired Bernie's 2020 campaign. Now he's chairing Barbara's campaign for Senate. He's going to be with us. And we'll hear from special guest Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley on the importance of building progressive power at all levels of government. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, please like and share right now to help get this live stream out to as many people as possible. Let me read a few names from folks in the chat. We've got Aaron. Oh my gosh, it's moving. From El Chorrito, we have Janet Katui from Minnesota, Melanie Cohen from Tongvaland, Redondo Beach. Paulina's in Vancouver. She says, yeah, progressive. She's excited tonight. Barry in Toledo, Ohio. Gail in Richmond, California. Louise in Harwich, Massachusetts. Welcome, everybody. It looks like we've got a lot of folks tuning in from California as well. Samuel Parnas in LA, folks in South Carolina. We did want to say to acknowledge the horrible weather that is afflicting folks out in California. There's an atmospheric river. A lot of folks are in danger, we've been hearing. So we're hoping that everybody is staying safe. And we'd also like to give a big thank you to our grassroots supporters out there who make everything we do here to elect progressives possible. So if you're not already a recurring monthly member of Our Revolution, we're going to put the link in the chat right now. Please click it, give a few bucks a month, whatever you can afford. It all goes to a good cause. And whether you're in California or anywhere else in the country, you can still help out. You can sign up to Phone Bank with our team. They're a lot of fun, and they're notching up votes for our progressive candidates just about every night of the week. So we've made over 1 million calls in California for Barbara and our down ballot candidates. Sign up at the link that's going in the chat right now and jump on the dialer with us, make an impact. Once again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Amanda Nichols, and I'm the Communications Director here at Our Revolution. And we're just about to start our live California Get Out the Vote kickoff call. So keep boosting the chat, telling us your name, where you're from. We've got Liliana in San Francisco. Hello, hello. Brandy says hello to a fellow San Franciscan. Bassam is also in the Bay Area. So yeah, it's great that you guys are tuning in and checking out the candidates that are in your area that you can start voting for today. Tonight, we're going to have Barbara Lee on the call. She's the most progressive candidate in the race for the U.S. Senate seat in California. Lateefah Simon, who Barbara has endorsed to succeed her to the U.S. House seat in District 12. We've got Ro Khanna, Barbara's campaign manager for her Senate campaign. Special guest Ayanna Pressley, who needs no introduction. We all know and love her. And Fatima Iqbal Zubair, who's the Progressive Caucus Chair for the California Democratic Party. They're going to be breaking down these races and why it's so important that we build power from the bottom on up. We're very excited to kick things off in California tonight. So if you're watching online, once again, like and share this live stream, get a bunch of folks joining in. But for now, let me read a couple more names from the folks who were active enough to sign up ahead of time. Join us right here in the Zoom with all of our great guests. We have, oh my gosh, we've got Elaine Holtz in Santa Rosa. We have, everybody knows each other, it looks like. A lot of folks talking to each other. Scott in Gainesville, Florida. It's great to see the community that is building in the Our Revolution live calls that we host here. We've got Doc Farrell, who says, Barbara Lee is the first and only candidate to unconditionally back a ceasefire. Doc has his facts straight, and glad to hear people are supporting an anti-war, true anti-war voice for the Senate. That's what we need. We've got David Sonneborn in Orange, California, Joan from Brooklyn, Nikki in Ohio, Sue Morris in Vermont. Welcome to everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to our live national call tonight. But we're focusing in on California, getting out the vote and kicking off early voting, which started today. Ballots are dropping. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to our host for the evening, Our Revolution Executive Director, Joseph Gevargiz. So Joseph.
Thank you, Amanda Nichols. Brothers and sisters, I'm Joseph Gevargiz, Executive Director of Our Revolution, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to our California Get Out the Vote kickoff call. That's right, early voting is now underway in California. Ballots are hitting mailboxes, and we, as a movement, need to do everything that we can to get out the progressive vote right now to elect Barbara Lee and other progressive champions. We here at Our Revolution, our community is backing Barbara because we know that she is the effective progressive in this race. She has a proven track record of fighting for the transformational policies like Medicare for all and the Green New Deal, the policies that matter most to us. Not only that, she is the leading voice for peace. She is the anti-war candidate in the Senate race. Not only does she stand and speak alone against the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, she was one of the first to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. And not only that, she's also backed by her progressive colleagues in the United States House who want her to be their partner in the Senate and serve alongside Bernie Sanders. She is endorsed by Representative Ayanna Pressley and Ro Khanna, who are on our call tonight. She's also endorsed by Pramila Jayapal, Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, Mark Pocan, and so many other leading progressives in Congress. Brothers and sisters, bottom line, Barbara Lee speaks for our movement. And we need to make sure we do everything we can to get out the vote. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But in addition to getting out the vote for Barbara Lee, Our Revolution is also getting out the vote for a big slate of candidates all across the state of California, working to elect progressive power slates that at every level of government, including at the very bottom, Democratic Party County Central Committee seats. We know at Our Revolution that change starts from the bottom up, and that's why we're backing progressive slates for key California Democratic Party positions, because our mission is to transform the Democratic Party from the inside out and take on the corporate establishment. We're also working to elect progressive legislators, mayors, and city councilors all across the slate. And what do these candidates all have in common? One, they're all true Bernie progressives, and they all support Barbara Lee. In Sacramento, we've got a chance to elect people like Sean Frame to the California Assembly, as well as elect a majority, progressive governing majority, and a progressive mayor in the city. In San Francisco, we've endorsed 2 judges who are facing off against right-wing, tough-on-crime opponents. In Alameda County, we're backing bold progressives like Javanka Beckles for the state Senate. In Contra Costa, we've got a slate that includes Marisol Rubio and Monica Wilson, who are running to serve in the legislature. And in Southern California, we are backing candidates not only for the state assembly, but also for the LA and Pasadena City Council. In total, our revolution has endorsed 95 candidates so far in California, and now is the time to act. You can check them all out, all of our endorsed candidates, on Our Revolution's new website. Just go to ourrevolution.com /progressive-champions, or you could just go to our website and navigate, ourrevolution.com. Check out our California voter guide. Look at, we all know, because we're activists, we know that an endorsement by itself isn't enough to win an election. Winning takes doing the hard work of organizing. We must vote ourselves, but the key is getting others in our network to vote. So I want to urge each of you, if you've got a mail-in ballot at home, fill it out, send it in. If you've already voted, tell us in the chat. And more importantly, get your friends and family to vote. If each person gets one other person to vote for Barbara Lee and to vote progressive, we can win this election. One thing that you can do right now to help get the word out is you can share our social media links about Election Day and about how to vote for Barbara and our progressive champions. A Linktree link is going to be in the chat. It's got posts that you can put up on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter. Look, the well-funded candidates, who some of whom are taking corporate money, are going onto the airwaves. This campaign and our grassroots movement don't have the resources to spend millions and millions of dollars on TV ads, but what we do have is people power. And you can help us amplify early voting by using the posts that are in the Linktree link. Brothers and sisters, I also want to encourage all of you, if you have an opportunity, to sign up to volunteer on our phone bank. We're running 5 days, 6 days a week, getting out the vote. We've already made over 1 million calls in California, 1 million voter contacts through phones and text, and we've got to make more than 1 million over the course of the next 30 days. Now, all of this is important. And if you don't have the opportunity, if you're not on social media, if you don't have the time to volunteer, you can also donate. We're running a massive get out the vote operation, and we need your help, right, to reach every single progressive voter by phone, by mail, and by text between now and March 5th. You can support that work by becoming a member of Our Revolution. A recurring donation of $5, $10 a month is not a huge ask, and may be something you may not notice, or you may have to sacrifice a cup of coffee, but do that to help us build our organizing, because this first in the nation primary is going to be very important for setting the tone for the rest of the Democratic Party's primaries that are coming down the pike. So with that, again, welcome everyone to our California GOTV kickoff. My name is Joseph Kivargis. I'm going to be your host tonight, and I want to bring up our first guest. We've got an amazing lineup, by the way. We are joined not only by Ayanna Presley, we've got Ro Khanna, we've got Barbara Lee, we've got Latifah Simon, who's running to succeed Barbara Lee in Congress, and we have our next guest, Fatima Iqbal Zubair. She is the chair of the Progressive Caucus of the California Democratic Party. She's a veteran organizer. In fact, we were together in Sacramento in November, organizing progressive delegates at the party convention, and it worked. Barbara Lee was the top vote getter at the Democratic convention, and that's in no small part because of the work of Fatima and other members of the Progressive Caucus. So, Fatima, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about how progressives organized to win for Barbara in the past and how we're going to do so going forward. And tell us a little bit about the central party committees and why these are so important.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here at Our Revolution. Thanks for all the work you're doing across the state, the calls you're making, the candidates you're supporting. It's making a huge difference. This is how progressives win when we all mobilize. Yeah, so my name is Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. I'm the chair of the California Democratic Party Progressive Caucus, which is the largest caucus in our state and probably one of the largest in the nation. In my day job, I'm an environmental advocate. So I want to just say, like, we have evidence of what's happening right now because we're not acting on the climate crisis is exactly why we need progressives, up and down the ballot. I'm a youth mentor, a teacher, a mother to a son with special needs, and a community advocate in one of the most marginalized communities in South LA. And that's really what I feel like why I support Barbara Lee and why we need Barbara Lee, because it's not enough to be progressive. You have to really understand the most vulnerable, right? Single mothers, communities of color, communities that have been really left behind, indigenous communities, undocumented communities. And that's what a true progressive really is, fighting for the most marginalized. And we've seen Barbara Lee stand up for them every single time, whether she was the only one or whether she was the first one. She was never afraid. And this is the type of moral clarity we really need in the Senate. And as Joseph said, I want to uplift, right, that we need progressives to turn out for this election and vote for Barbara and for down ballot progressives as well. As Joseph mentioned, Barbara Lee got a plurality of votes at the convention, and that was because we organized, right? And that shows that if that can happen in the party, we can do that across the state as long as we're each, talking to each other, sharing out, on our social media, making calls, right? Knocking on doors, doing whatever we have to do to get out the word. I want to shout out the slates that were endorsed and, my own slate in some of District 65, the People's Voice slate, because the party changes from the top down, right? We need people like Barbara in the Senate, but it also changes from the bottom up, from the true grassroots. When we have corporate free progressives that are for the people at every level on the ballot. So it's really important that you really look at your down ballot candidates as you vote for Barbara and really see who's fighting for you over corporate interests. So that's sort of what I wanted to say. And thank you so much. Don't forget to, turn in your ballots early, follow Our Revolution's recommendations, and vote and get out the vote.
Fatima, thank you so much for your leadership of the Progressive Caucus. It is amazing that there's so many progressives around the state of California who are running to get involved and take over the Democratic Party. And that work shows Barbara coming out on first. We've got an amazing network, I think, around the state that if we activate all of these central committee folks who are also going to be on the ballot, we have a chance of running the tables from party to all the way to the top of the ticket for Barbara Lee. So that's what we're trying to do, brothers and sisters, is build a movement, an organized movement that transforms our country at every level, starting from the Democratic Party all the way to the U.S. Congress. With that, speaking of Congress, I want to bring up our next guest. Her name is Latifah Simon, and she is running to be the next United States representative from the 12th District of California. This is Barbara Lee's former seat because she is going to be graduated up to the United States Senate, promoted up, let me say. And she was just recently endorsed by Barbara to be her successor in Congress. And we are so excited to welcome Latifa to this call. Latifa, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Congratulations on our endorsement. And I just want to know one thing. You, when Barbara endorsed you, one of the things you said is you really appreciated Barbara's role as a mentor in your life as a progressive activist. And tell us a little bit about how Barbara has influenced you.
Thank you so much. It is so amazing to be in this community. I feel you all. I feel spirit. I feel power. You know, Miss Lee, as many of us on the ground call her in the Bay Area, we've known Barbara, and she tells us oftentimes to call her Barbara because she has been on the ground here in her 30 years in the Congress and over a couple decades in the state assembly. You know, I've been organizing for 30 years as a young woman who was running an organization that I'm still very close to, the Young Women's Freedom Center. I met Barbara because I was working with young women who are literally living on the streets, those young women who are fighting to get out of prisons and jails, to find new community, to regenerate themselves in community. Barbara has been consistent. Barbara was also my professor. I went to Mills College as a resuming student with a baby on my hip. And I can't tell you, over and over again, from marches, rallies, classrooms, Miss Lee, Congresswoman Lee has been there for us. But I will say, sir, that we have also watched her on the Senate floor. Excuse me. She will be on the Senate floor. We've watched her on the Congress floor. And 3 days after 9/11, watching TV, I will never forget seeing someone that I looked up to so much stand in front of literally the world and be the consciousness of our people not only here in this country, but globally. From watching her work defend reproductive rights, to being very, very clear that we must consistently push for economic justice, that minimum wage is not enough, from economic justice to fighting for folks who are dying of AIDS in the early stages of the AIDS epidemic. I can't tell you how she's inspired my life. Like very few folks who are in the United States Congress, she makes her way back to the West Coast nearly every single week. You're going to see her at town hall meetings. You're seeing her at marches and rallies. You're seeing her at hospitals. You're seeing her fighting for healthcare for all. I am so excited to be able to continue my campaign to hopefully take her place. What a mentor she is. She deserves to be in the Senate. There is nobody more qualified. There is no one in this race with as much energy, thoughtfulness, relationships here, globally, in community, from the projects, literally to the hills. Barbara Lee is somebody that we all can learn so much for, and I'm so glad our revolution is right behind her.
Latifa, thank you again for joining us. One question. Yeah. Tell us about the priorities when you are the next U.S. representative from CD12. What are some of the things you're going to prioritize as one of our core progressive champions, which I know you're going to be, and we're really excited to have you.
I want to be very clear about this. Our priorities are solid. Our revolution has lifted up those priorities. So has Congresswoman Barbara Lee. The reduction of military spending, what we can do if we decide to actually put peace first, how we can really lift up all of the opportunities, from building new housing to pushing for healthcare for all. Being the voice of peace is extremely critical. Healthcare for all and single payer, we must go beyond just sort of our basic understanding of what folks need. You know, I'm a widow. I buried my husband. I have 2 children. I watched him struggle for life. And I know, not only from Kevin's story, but other folks who weren't as lucky, who didn't have health care, who weren't able to get the treatment that he got. That is unacceptable. The fight for reproductive justice in this country, my 2 baby girls are less free now than my mother was, who was born in Malvern, Arkansas. We have to extend the court, push back, codify Roe, and make sure that folks who are able to develop families and those who are struggling to do that have choices about their bodily autonomy. And lastly, you know, our folks are struggling all over the country to pay their rent, to get housing, to buy groceries. Economic justice and literally the labor movement, we believe, as Barbara has pushed us to think about, can lift us out of this turmoil. I'm so happy to be, you know, a radical and thoughtful Democrat. I've been mentored by Barbara Lee and so many other folks on this call. And I am so excited that we have a candidate for the United States Senate that we can throw our all into. And yes, I am running for California's 12th congressional district. But my fight tonight and moving forward until March 5th is also to ensure that Barbara Lee takes that Senate seat.
Thank you so much, Latifa. We are right there with you. One of our goals, strategic goals at our revolution, is to make sure that we continue to grow the Congressional Progressive Caucus and make sure when we graduate up, when we promote up candidates to the U.S. Senate, we backfill with others who are committed to carrying forth the work of the Progressive Caucus in the United States House. So that is going to be Latifa Simon. We're in it to win it, along with Barbara at the top of the ticket. Next up, I want to bring up our revolution's good friend, United States Representative Ro Khanna. We know him as the former co-chair of Bernie 2020, and we know him as the co-chair of Barbara Lee's U.S. Senate campaign. Ro, welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you, Brother Joseph. Thank you for your continued leadership. Great to see Latifa. She's going to be a great progressive voice, a neighbor in Congress, and I'm excited about her campaign. Always great if Larry Cohen is on. He's my original brother, and with you, Joseph, who's building this movement. I am so excited. I got on a red eye last night to come to D.C., and it was delayed with the raid, so I've been up night and day, but I would never miss this call for Barbara Lee. That's how important Barbara Lee's candidacy is. And let me tell you why we all need to mobilize and get her into the Senate, and why 30 days from now this election is so critical. First of all, Barbara Lee is the only voice who has unequivocally come out for a permanent ceasefire in the Middle East and the release of the hostages. She has been bold in saying that from day one. And as is often the case with Barbara, people come around to her perspective. She just gets there first. Their situation in Gaza, where you have almost famine-like conditions for some children, and where so many women and children are dying, is just a moral challenge for the world. And Barbara would make a difference day one to get peace there, to get two states, to get a Palestinian state with equal rights and human rights, to make sure that we don't get into another war in the Middle East. You know, I was saying this 6 months ago. Now you see the escalation with the Houthis. You see the escalation with Iran. We need an anti-war senator, and that will be Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee also will be a fighter for transformative change, for Medicare for all, for free public college, for a living wage, for housing policy, that because she knows what it's like to be unhoused, for policies that are going to make sure that rent is not going up greater than inflation, capping rent, because she understands that that's needed for livable communities, and for racial justice and reproductive rights. She really believes in these things. She is someone who comes from the tradition of Desmond Tutu and Mandela and the civil rights movement to King and Lewis and Ron Dellums. I mean, she's the real deal. And I've had the chance to drive with her to see President Carter in church service, and she talks about how she's part of the movement for social justice, for racial justice, against militarism. So this is the time where the movement needs to have her back. She never has put herself up front. She has really been part of the movement and put the people first, but we need to have her back. I know she can win this campaign. There are 25 to 30% that are undecided. Those are people, if we're on social media, if we're active, if we're getting out the vote, she can win this. It'll be in the top two. It's going to be, in my view, about 17 to 20% that gets there. And that difference to get into the top two is going to be all of us. So I am grateful. I'm going to be doing an event with Barbara later in February. and let's just all go and win this campaign, get her into the top 2. If she's in the top 2, she will be our next United States Senator.
Ro, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the importance of electing Barbara. Yes, Barbara has always had the movement's back. She has been a consistent voice on all of the issues that we care about, from living wages to labor rights to healthcare for all. Other candidates like Adam Schiff are signing on recently to Medicare for all, to the Green New Deal. They're new to our movement, and I'm not sure if that newness means that they will be consistent in their conviction, but we know this. Barbara has been in the trenches for decades fighting the good fight, as you heard from Ro, as you heard from Lateefah, and we've got to do everything in our power to make sure that we get out the vote for Barbara Lee. I want to invite anyone from around the country, you don't have to be a California resident, to join our phone banks. There is a volunteer orientation. You will get trained up, and we are going to call other Bernie supporters. Bernie won the 2020 presidential primary in California. And if we, the people who powered that victory, get off the couches, we can make history again. This is our moment to rock the establishment. We need to get the word out about Barbara Lee, and you can help by signing up to Phone Bank. That's what's going to make the difference. One-on-one conversations, making sure that everyone knows it is vital to our democracy that they fill out their mail ballot for Barbara Lee, and then they get their friends and their neighbors to do the same. With that, I want to bring up our next guest, a special guest. Her name is Ayanna Pressley. She is a leader in our progressive movement for change for a long time. She's no stranger to our revolution. The last time she was with us was back in September, when we kicked off our effort to elect Barbara Lee to the United States Senate. And from that kickoff in September to now, our revolution is powered with volunteers, with our team, over 1 million voter contacts. And our goal over the course of the next month is to make another 1 million more. And Ayanna is here to help us kick off the get out the vote portion of this work. Representative Pressley, thank you for being here. And as I saw on social, I believe, happy birthday, or belated birthday.
Yes, thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much. It's always good to be with our revolution. I love the possessive of that. Our revolution, our time, our democracy, our candidate. It's always just rallying and restorative to be with movement family. So thank you for the invitation to join you again. And I'm just so grateful to each and every one of you for your collective efforts and your contributions at this moment, at this critical inflection point for our country. Before I get into some brief remarks, I do just want to say how excited we are that you were sending Lateefah to us. The Congressional Progressive Caucus is right now the biggest ideological caucus in Congress. I think that is a testament to the fact, and I thank my brother Ro for being, one of our most powerful voices, and I thank him for his support of Barbara, because so often Black women are relegated as a footnote. Their contributions are erased, underestimated, and discredited. I was never tripping on the money, because if anybody knows how to maximize every dollar, it's a Black woman who has been a single parent. We know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. In my own race, no corporate money. We raised and spent 1.6. Our opponent, a nearly 20-year incumbent, spent 6.6 million, and we won by 18 points. We won by 18 points. So this is about, just as our campaign was, this is about people power. And so, and the people continue to speak and to affirm the power of progressive policies and values. That is why the Progressive Caucus is the biggest ideological caucus. So they keep trying to convince us that progressive ideas and progressive candidates are losing and our ideas are unpopular or that they are fringe or marginal. But look, all of the policies that we champion are mainstream. They're mainstream right now. Things that they tried to fringe and marginalize. So I'm excited to have Latifah join us. I'm thankful to my brother Ro for his support of my big sister, OG squad. That's what I call her, Barbara Lee. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you on the ground in California and across the nation, organizing and mobilizing to advance essential progressive priorities. Organized power is realized power, period. And it is just so inspiring to see the work that our revolution is doing to get Democrats elected up and down the ballot and across the country, but especially in California. With the March 5th primary quickly approaching, the nation is watching. All eyes are on California, and there is a damn good reason for that, because we are at such an inflection point as a nation. You know, throughout the pandemic, everyone said, every inequity and disparity and racial injustice had been laid bare and had been exacerbated. And so, you know, coming out of that, in the midst of that recovery, which is we're still very much in, what are we going to do? Default to an unjust status quo? If all of those things were laid bare and they're worsened, what are we going to do about it? We need to advance policies and ideas that go as bold and as deep as the hurt. And we need progressive leaders that will do that. We find ourselves living in the present and the residual aftermath of what I would characterize as policy violence. We know that people can legislate hurt and harm. We deserve to know what it is to have justice legislated, equity legislated, healing legislated. These are all the things that Barbara Lee has been doing throughout her entire career in public service. This is what progressives do. We're not tinkering around the edges. Bold, transformative, meaningful change that you don't need a press release to know that it's happened, because you feel it palpably, tangibly in your life and all around you every day. Solutions that go as bold and as deep as the hurt. So we need progressive leaders who are not afraid to lean in and meet this moment. The people of California deserve strong progressive leaders focused on partnership, healing, and progress. Our shared constituents are working longer hours for lower wages while corporations make record profits and executives collect million-dollar bonuses. Our politics have become truly a playground for the wealthy few, while so many struggle to pay rent, buy groceries, and to afford basic health care. Enough. You know, so many Democrats would often talk about the working class, which is certainly deserving of championing. But when I got to Congress, Barbara Lee said, I'm not afraid to say the P word. I didn't know where she was going with that, but it was poverty, because so few people would talk about that and do the work of confronting it and alleviating it. You know, she's not afraid to say poverty, and she's not afraid to work for peace either. You know, so today, progressive candidates in California and across the country are rejecting the unjust status quo that has failed our communities for far too long. We are challenging a political system that is catered to corporate interests at the expense of working people. We believe that reproductive rights are health care. Healthcare is a human right. Housing is a human right. We believe that young people should not have to live their entire lives under the burden of student loan debt. We believe that all people should feel safe and welcome in our country and our communities. We believe that we must end mass incarceration and transform our broken criminal legal system. When I was a city councilor, I was doing this work in partnership with Barbara in Boston, traveled to California to go behind the wall, you know, with her. So she has been on the front lines, doing the hard work, doing the movement leading work. She is a bold progressive leader who has courage, the strength of her convictions. You know, I just am so grateful for her example. She is an icon. She has been a mentor. She has been my big sister. She has blazed a trail. And I have no doubt that the people of California would deeply benefit from her leadership in the United States Senate. In fact, the nation will benefit from the visionary leadership, the conviction, and the commitment of a Senator Barbara Lee. She will be California's senator, but she will be our senator. The progressive movement, she will be the people's senator. So everyone will benefit from Barbara Lee in the Senate. And so let us commit to doing everything we can. Let us be indefatigable in this moment and do everything we can to send this brilliant woman to the United States Senate to make history and to make change. And with that, I'll turn it over to my sister in service, my mentor, our candidate, Barbara Lee.
Congresswoman Presley, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, of course.
Well, girl, first
Love
of all,
you, sister. Love you so
I love
much.
you too, and I just have to tell you happy birthday. You know, we don't see each other enough except in passing on the floor of Congress, in the cloakroom. But I hope that you had a restful, peaceful, and happy day with your family and your loved ones. You deserve it, gosh. And thank you.
I let them all know the best gift they can give this 50-year-old is a Barbara Lee victory.
You'll be an OG pretty soon. But thank you so much for your friendship for many, many years, but also for your support from day one. And I want to say just a couple of things about how important this is to me personally, but how important your endorsement is to our movement. One is, many of you know Congresswoman Presley as a great activist, brilliant intellect, forward-thinking Black woman, but she's also a great legislator. And she knows how to maintain her values as a progressive, as someone who, in one of the terms I like to use, and I give you credit, Ayanna, those closest to the pain must be closest to the power. I mean, she teaches also and she preaches, but she's intentional about everything. And our progressive movement needs people, women of color who are intentional, who know how to move the ball, not necessarily tinker around the edges, but who know how, as she says, bring our own table and set it. And
That's
so,
right.
you know, and she had Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm's office for the first few years she was in Congress. And then you all know I got involved in politics through the first Black woman elected to the House of Representatives, and that was Shirley Chisholm. So Ayanna Presley just brings forth that spirit in her own presence. And so it makes a lot of difference, Ayanna, for your support, because you understand, and I want to communicate this to everyone, how Black women understand what intersectionality means. We understand what gives rise to poverty and to what gives rise to being an unsheltered person or unsheltered homelessness, being understanding the basic causes of public safety issues and crime, who understands why we've got to make sure that we not only move from a minimum wage, but to a living wage. And so Congresswoman Presley pushes the envelope on all these issues. And I have to tell you, as the co-chair of the pro-choice caucus, boy, it was kind of lonely for a while when I was trying to get this Hyde Amendment repealed, which of course you all know is discriminatory against women of color, primarily low-income women who are primarily women of color. But when Ayanna Presley got to Congress, I said, oh, no, she has got to be able to get on the inside. And
Barbara, stop being my mentor and talk about you.
No,
I
gotta finish. I gotta finish. I have to get an opportunity to talk about how you came in and became the chair of our task force on abortion access and made sure that we were able to repeal this Hyde Amendment 2 times when we were in the majority. So I just have to give you your credit, give you your love, and give you what you're due in front of these great progressives who are helping us win this election. So thank you very much, Ayanna Presley, for your leadership and your friendship. You know, one thing I want to say about being a progressive, and yes, I want to say thank you to Congressman Ro Khanna for his leadership from day one, for co-chairing our campaign, for being part of this movement, because Ro brings in this context of economics onto all issues. So those of us learn from Ro how to talk about economics in the context of making sure that everyone has the opportunity and the justice and the freedom that they deserve in this country. So thank you so much, Ro, if you're still on. But I want to just acknowledge him and what he brings to the progressive movement and to our progressive caucus. And also, of course, to Lateefah Simon, who is a phenomenal woman, who is just going to take this baton and chart her own course and keep moving this progressive movement ahead in our community. Because, you know, I took this baton from Ron Dellums, who was a warrior and is a great statesman, and worked for him for 11 years. He was my predecessor. And this legacy, as a legacy that has to be upheld as a marathon, we run this next lap of the race on behalf of peace, on behalf of justice. And Lateefah is the perfect person to do that. So I just want to thank her for stepping up, because she knows how hard this is, Ayanna. All of y'all, this is hard work, but she stepped up and is doing it. And Joe and Paco and all of you with our rep, thank you. We couldn't do this without you, because this is a people-powered campaign. This is a grassroots campaign, but this is a campaign where, of course, you know, my opponents have lots of money. But Barbara Lee, no, I don't take corporate PAC donations. But also, I don't have, and all of you know, we've got to get to public financing of campaigns. We've got to get the dark money out of campaigns, and we've got to overturn Citizens United. And until we do that, you know, there's not a level playing field with regard to campaign contributions, and there won't be for a progressive Black woman from California. But just like we took the largest vote, the highest vote at the Democratic Party convention, we beat out all our opponents because of all of you. We're going to win this election and get into the top 2 March 5th because of you, because it's about putting together this coalition, this multiracial, multi-generational coalition. That's what's important, being the voice of the people, being able to talk to voters about, first of all, who I am, lived experiences, why we've got to change our tax code to make billionaires pay their fair share. I mean, I know that very real, why 20 million people in California living one paycheck away from poverty, because we have corporate greed that's rampant in California. And so I want to work with Bernie with our Oligarch Act and several bills that we're working on to really make sure that billionaires make their fair share. Make sure we reduce the defense budget. I mean, all of these issues I know as someone who was on public assistance, Medi-Cal, food stamps, raising 2 little wonderful boys as a single mother. And so part of this movement and my work once you elect me to the United States Senate will be about champion these progressive issues that really need a bigger megaphone now in the United States Senate. And I was talking to one of my colleagues today about poverty. And, you know, so many people in California, especially in the Central Valley, in our urban areas, are living below the poverty line. In my district right now, $117,000 is low income. Can you believe that? Because of the cost of living, because of the cost of housing, because of the cost of childcare. Well, I was talking to my colleagues, and they were talking about and wrote up a document saying we want to reduce poverty. I said, no. Let's write, we want to eliminate poverty. That's the progressive position. That's what Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley gets and understands. And that's what Congressman Khanna understands, and Lateefah Simon, that we have to not talk about tinkering around the edges on policies, but go for it. We have to say we're going to eliminate poverty, not reduce it. And so just know that that's the kind of progressive values, that's the kind of perspective that I bring to the United States Senate, whether it's on climate, this is a climate emergency. Climate justice has got to be part of our climate policy. When you talk about education, when you talk about housing and homelessness and unhoused people, it's a moral disgrace. And I have very creative ideas for solutions in the Senate. Why not provide deposit assistance? In California, last month's rent, security deposit, that's $10,000 to $15,000. Why not have HUD invest in families who want to rent a decent, safe place but can't afford the deposits? We can do that. my brothers and sisters. I know we can do it because we have the resources to do that. So thinking out of the box, coming up with solutions that will really help people who really haven't had a champion in the Senate to really push the envelope, I say. And that's what we do as progressives. We push the envelope on each and every single policy. And I don't care whether it's domestic or foreign policy or international relations. Many of you know I have a deep and broad background and experience on international affairs and national security, broader and deeper and more experience than any of my opponents. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about when I know after 9/11, those horrific attacks, why I voted no on the terrorist attacks. There was no way I would give any president a blank check to use force forever. Then that's what happened. It set the stage for forever wars. Now, you all know I called for a permanent ceasefire early because I understand what this means in terms of the humanitarian catastrophe that's going on. But I also know there'll never be peace and security for the Israelis nor for the Palestinians unless we do get to a diplomatic and political solution and stop this war from expanding, which it is. And we have to do this if in fact the hostages are going to be released. And so just know that, believe me, when I'm in the Senate, I'm going to take on these challenges, issues of peace and global security, issues of income inequality, racial equity, climate change, all from a perspective that only a Black woman can bring because of our history and our background and who we are. So I'll close by saying this, and many don't know this, but since 1789, and representation matters, okay? Since 1789, when the first House and Senate went into session, there have been 3 African-American women serving in the United States Senate, a total of 10 years. Now imagine how much stronger our democracy would be if you have someone, or if we had more Black women in the Senate who fight constantly, which I have done since the day I was born, to fix our democracy so that democracy can work for everyone. And so I want to just thank you all so much for your support. The election is March 5th. The ballots have already dropped. There's a special election to fill out the term of Senator Feinstein and the primary on the same ballot. So you have to vote for Barbara Lee 2 times. Just know that's not a mistake. It's the governor called the special for the same day as the primary. So Barbara Lee for the special, Barbara Lee for the primary, and hope you'll join our phone banks. Hope you'll spread the word, because part of what we have to do, and the polls all show this, once people get to know me through you all trusted messengers, because again, we're not on television each and every day, 10 times a day, but you all are trusted messengers. And once people know who I am, what my agenda is, what my background is, and more importantly, what I intend to do in the future, the undecideds come our way. So you're so key to helping us do that. So thank you, Joseph, again. Thank you, Paco. Thank you, everybody, for this evening, and really appreciate your support, your vision, your movement, and your love, because this also is about a lot of love. Thanks again.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm having an audio-visual issue, so I want to kick it over to my co-host, Amanda Nichols, to close us out. But Barbara, know that our entire movement is organizing behind you in California, and we're going to work our tails off between now and March 5th.
All right.
That's the way we win. Hey, when we fight, when we organize, what do? We win.
That's right. Barbara knows all about it. And that's why we want all of you to help Barbara win by signing up to Phone Bank. This is an opportunity to get a true progressive powerhouse in that upper chamber. We need to send Barbara to the Senate. So join our team of phone bankers to make calls into California. We are dropping that link in the chat right now. And we've been making over 1 million calls. We want to make another 1 million voter contacts. So let's get to work on that. And just like Barbara said, you got to vote twice, once for her to finish out the remaining term, and then also to go ahead and serve her term. So that's the special election and the primary are both on the ballot. Vote for Barbara twice. That's legal. That's what we're supposed to do in this case. And we are going to be putting a link tree in the chat as well. So that's got a couple different posts in it. That's got Facebook, it's got Twitter, it's got Instagram, and you can just click on those. It'll open right in your own account. You can hit reshare. You can write a little something of your own with it, but we need to let folks know how to vote and that they need to be voting for Barbara Lee in this Senate race. So there's the graphic you see right there. We can start voting for mail ASAP. The ballots are dropping, like everybody said, and you can be any party affiliation to vote in this. Now, if you're voting for our Democratic Party candidates, you do have to be registered as a Democrat. But we want all those undecideds, all those independents, we want those to be breaking for Barbara and getting your ballots filled out and mailed out or dropped off at a drop-off location. So put in the chat right now if you plan to vote for Barbara, if you've already voted. We want to see some action happening off of this call. We love getting everybody mobilized, but we want to see folks really taking action as a result of all of us coming together for these live events. And finally, our very last thing of the evening, you guys all know if you're not able to phone bank, if you're not able to get involved in these other ways, we really appreciate donations. We want to get out the vote for Barbara and all these other great candidates, 95 candidates in California. We can take a lot of progressive power with that, from city councils to state legislatures. So it's incredibly important, as you all know. And we are going to drop in the chat how you can become a member of our revolution and support all of this critical work. We've got this voter turnout machine. We're doing voter-to-voter contacts. We're doing mail. We're doing social media, email, every way that we can possibly reach every progressive voter in California and get them out to vote. So with that, let's wrap up our final call. Barbara kind of got us started already because she knows when I say when we organize, you say we win. So everybody from our side, unmute, and we will close out with our familiar chant. When we organize,
We win.
When we organize,
We win.
when we organize,
We
We
win.
win.
Woo! Good job, everybody.